Hey, what's going on, guys? It's me, Brave 2 here, and I want to talk about something that I'm gonna guess many of you don't really care about, nor did you ever expect for me to talk about. But I, unfortunately, as it may be, am a Minnesota Vikings fan, and I want to talk about why I think they are playing so terribly this year, despite having immense talent on the roster. Now, this is something that I don't know. It is kind of going to be a little bit of rant video, and many of you, I don't know, many of you won't like it, but there's going to be some of you that are like, you know what? I'm gonna stick around and and listen to you talk about why you think your favorite football team is bad and what they should do about it. Is anybody from the Vikings going to ever see this and potentially make a difference on what they think? Hell no. But as a football fan, can I still try and say what I think is wrong with my team? Try and make a difference with them? Hell freaking yes, I can. Now, to start, I want to talk about the offense. Despite the loss of Stephon Diggs in the offseason, the Minnesota Vikings offense has rebounded extremely well this year, with the exception of really one person, maybe two. The one person being Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins has played terribly this year. He had 6 interceptions throughout 16 regular season games last year, went into New Orleans and worked his ass off and made everybody in Minnesota proud for how he played in that game when they went down to New Orleans and beat the Saints. Then he goes into San Francisco and, they just didn't get anything going. It happens, bada bing, bada boom. The Niners were the best team in the league last year. But this year he has 11 interceptions already. He has 2 games in which he's thrown 3 interceptions. I think both of those games he's thrown 3 interceptions in the first half and then done really well in the second half. But going into this week 7, week 8 matchup against the Packers, the Vikings are running out of time to make a difference. I do think this team is good enough to make the playoffs this year despite the 1-5 record. Because if you look, the wide receivers, their rookie wide receiver is leading the league. He's like 5th in the league in receiving yards, and he's coming off a bye week, meaning he's 1 week behind most of the other wide receivers in the league. Thielen is leading the league in, receiving touchdowns. I think he's up there in the league in receiving touchdowns. And really, the O-line, as much as it gets the shit always from Vikings fans, it's just, they haven't played too terrible this year. The run blocking has been great, which they always are great in the run blocking. And overall, it's just, I have 2 main things that I see as the issues with this offense. The first thing, obviously, being Kirk Cousins. It starts from the top, and if your quarterback isn't throwing the ball where you need him to and accurate enough to get it to those 2 huge playmaking receivers, and even your running backs out of the backfield, and some other people we're going to mention in a bit, it's a problem, and it's a huge problem. I really like Kirk Cousins. I think he is a phenomenal quarterback. I think he's just, I don't know what it is with this year. I don't know if it was supposed to be Zimmer's last year, whether it's Kirk coming up on his contract and he's thinking that he needs an extension, but he's not playing like he was. I don't know if he's hitting his regression period because not every quarterback's Tom Brady, but I just don't know what it is. It just seems like Kirk Cousins is not anywhere near as good as he was last year. He ranked as the 6th best quarterback in the NFL last year. The first coming off of play action, which is the majority of what he threw off of last year with the Vikings running the ball so much. It's just something where I'm just, I don't understand how you can regress so much. So that gives me into my first point. I think the play calling has got to change. Now, it hasn't helped that Dalvin's been injured the past couple weeks, and when you don't have the best running back in the NFL, it's kind of hard to get your offense going and get it moving. But I think the main thing that I've been kind of waiting on is, where the fuck are the tight ends? Irv Smith Jr. and Kyle Rudolph. Kyle Rudolph seen as one of the most underrated tight ends in football, and I think Irv Smith Jr. might be one of the most overrated or one of the most hyped up tight ends that has come into football in a while, and neither of them have been used, I don't think. I don't think either. I mean, Irv has had a couple of really nice catches, but Rudolph hasn't been used. I don't even think he has a touchdown catch this year. And Irv Smith, I know, doesn't have a touchdown catch this year, and he hasn't been used since he was drafted. I think the reason this is mainly coming to light for me is because I look at Justin Jefferson this year. The man wasn't used for 3 weeks, and then they used him after that, and he's now, what is he, 5th in the league in receiving? And he's had really 3 weeks. 3 weeks. 3 weeks, and he's 5th in the league in receiving. That's insane. So that makes me wonder, where the hell's Irv Smith? Where the hell's Kyle Rudolph? When things work and you calling play action plays and you're running your PA boot and you're running all of this stuff, it gets your tight ends open. So when you're not using them, it makes me worried for our offense in the future. And I think that's one thing that, looking into our outlook of what they can do better this year, or for the rest of this year, I think what they need to do is they need to stick to their roots and they need to pound the ball down the other team's throat. That is what they need to do. That is what the Vikings are built on. Dalvin Cook is built to do that. Injury prone, but I think Alexander Mattison can do it if Dalvin gets hurt. But we need to pound the ball down the other team's throat, and we need to throw play action off of that, because that is where Kirk Cousins is the best and the most comfortable. That's where he's the most dangerous, and ultimately that's where he's the most successful, and that's what makes our football team the most successful. Now, we're going to be moving on to the defense. I can't say much about the defense because the secondary's young, and I realize that. And I can't put too much of that on Zimmer, but what I can put on Zimmer is the fact that they seem to be getting beat on the same things week to week sometimes. Now, it's not always, especially Jeff Gladney and Dantzler. They're learning on the fly, and they're learning extremely quickly. And I'm actually really happy with those two and their development so far. Dantzler kind of reminds me of Rhodes a little bit with a couple of the limp-offs that he has. But still, I think our corners are progressing phenomenally, and I think they're going to be 2 really good corners in this league one day. It's just they're young right now, so I can't put too much on the defense. The main problem that we're having is pass rush. Yannick Ngakoue was a really good defensive rusher for us, but if you look, part of the reason the Viking defense can't get off the field is on 3rd down, they're forced to blitz people, leaving people open because they can't get home with 4 people. Now, I realize that Danielle Hunter is injured. I realize that they're having some injury issues pretty much everywhere. I mean, Barr's out for the season with a pectoral injury. He's generally one of your main rushers and one of your best linebackers. I think Eric Wilson might be better than him in my opinion, but still. I think that the main issue for this Vikings defense is their pass rush. If they can get home to the quarterback and make him uncomfortable, it means that those young corners don't have to cover these experienced receivers for as long. I think it starts there, and if you improve that, these corners will get so much better if you can just find a way to get pass rush home. I think they need to let James Lynch go. I think they need to let him do his thing, and I think they finally need to give Ofadi a chance. I think they maybe need to give Armon Watts a chance. I think maybe, I don't know. There's a huge hole missing with Danielle Hunter, and I don't think they have anyone behind him that can fill that, which is unfortunate, but they have to find something. There's got to be something that they can fill that hole with so that they can have a way to get some sort of pass rush now that they've traded Yannick to the Ravens. But still, the defense, as much as it's been bad, it's been improving steadily week to week, with the exception of the Falcons game. The Falcons game was terrible. I put that one solely on Zimmer. And really, if you watch that game, they're in a game that is pretty much a must-win game. Every game from now on is almost a must-win game, especially when you're playing a Falcons team that, as much as they have underperformed too, and they've been in just about every game they've played, and they've been close to winning every game they've played, almost every game they've played, they're still underachieving just like the Vikings are, and probably worse than the Vikings are. My issue becomes, you didn't even show up. You got laughed out of your own stadium by a 1-5 team. They're famous for blowing their leads, and when they got a lead, you just stopped. I think this is where it comes to Zimmer, because when Zimmer gets a lead and he gets comfortable, they go into prevent defense. This is where I blame it on Zimmer. Zimmer is at his best when he can pin his ears back, call whatever the hell he wants, get after the quarterback, and really play defense. And I feel like Zimmer, because of his young corners and him, I feel like it might even be the COVID season too, with just not being able to fully know your personnel as much as you would be able to in a normal season. But I feel like he just doesn't know what he can call and how he can call it yet. And I feel like as the season goes on, that'll get better, which is only a sign of things to come. And really, I think that brings me into my final point here, is that the outlook for this football team is incredible. They probably have the most talent, other than maybe the Falcons, of any underperforming team in the NFL, and I think they give the Falcons a run for their money. I think it's just they're lacking a little bit of leadership. You lose Stephon Diggs, who was obviously someone that the locker room really liked. He may have been a locker room cancer, but if you look and you watch some of the videos the Vikings have uploaded, most of the people on the Vikings roster really enjoyed laughing it up and messing with Stephon Diggs. He was just one of those glue guys that, as much as he may have been upset with his role in the team and he may have let people know it, he brought the team together, whether you like to hear that or not. So I feel like that might be something where you've lost a big leader. I believe the same thing with Danielle Hunter. The defense kind of lost their guy. I think the same thing with Anthony Barr. The defense lost another one of their guys. Barr, obviously a captain on the defense. Many people are calling out Harrison Smith for not being a leader. Harrison Smith was never that guy. Harrison Smith, I don't want to be that guy. I want Harrison Smith to be comfortable, and to be honest, seeing Harrison play and watching him for the last couple of years, I don't think he's one of those assertive guys that you can trust to lead your football team. He can lead by example, but when you get into situations like this where you need someone to kick the shit out of everybody else's hide, I don't think Harrison's going to do that. And at the same time, I'm not mad at him for not doing that, because that's not his place and that's not what he does. And I don't want him to do that, because I don't want Harrison to be uncomfortable. But there needs to be somebody to step up, whether it's Dalvin, whether it's Thielen, whether it's Justin Jefferson, for all I care. I mean, Kyle Rudolph is always a leader, but still, there are dudes on this team that can step up. I think Kendricks can do it. I'm trying to think of who else on their defense is an older guy that could potentially do it. Another thing, Everson Griffin, that's a huge loss. You lost the most vocal player on your defense, and he rallied everyone together. I think it's another thing that's causing their downfall is Everson Griffin's gone. And so once again, I think it's just leadership right now. They're lost. They don't know what to do. And as the season goes on, this team is going to play better and better and better. And to be honest with you, I would be surprised, but I wouldn't be surprised if they snuck their way into the playoffs in that 7th seed, because it can do it, especially with the 7 playoff spots this year. I think they have a shot to do it. Now, that being said, this game on Sunday against Green Bay, if it happens, of course, one of the players just tested positive. If it happens, if they find a way to walk out of here with a win, I think it changes their entire season. They beat one of the best teams in the NFL, and I think it could slingshot them into, as Kyle Rudolph also said earlier this week, into going on and winning 8 or 9 in a row, stringing them together, looking like the most dominant team in the NFC, and really building on everything. But they have to do it. Like I said, there needs to be some leadership. Zimmer needs to figure his shit out. Kirk needs to figure his shit out. And other than that, I think the Vikings can do this, and I believe in them, and I'm really excited for this game Sunday. But I digress. If you guys did enjoy, thank you all for watching. Hit the like button if you want to see more of this fan talking. And I love y'all. See you on the next one. I'm sorry about the weird Madden gameplay in the background.